Hey guys, so what on earth is this thing? I had posted a picture of this in the community post and I had no takers, and there are a lot of people I know who know what this is and they're screaming at the video right now, but there's a lot of people, including me, that didn't know what it was when I picked it up. Somebody was throwing this out on the curb and I can kind of see a couple of reasons why, and I'll mention them. But spoiler alert, I'm about to tell you, this is a liquor dispenser. Liquor bottles go in there upside down, and it can be wine bottles or any kind of bottle. As I'm going to demonstrate here, let me show you in just a second. I've got a Coke bottle. Let's put it in there. And there you go. So that's what you do. Now, a lot of people, of course, it's a carousel. It'll hold 6 liquor bottles. And then dispenses out of the bottom. And I will demonstrate that in a moment. I'm going to fill this up with water. But a lot of people had a lot of guesses. And, just around, they thought it was a flux capacitor. Then they thought that it was that carousel in Jurassic Park where the embryos were. And it could be a number of different crazy electronic things, but nope, just a dispenser. But certainly unique. It's interesting. So like these top levers here are aluminum all the way down this shaft, and there's a spring holding those. And then the rest of this stuff down here is plastic. So the way it works, I'm going to have to fill this up with water, and then you push a cup up underneath, and I'll do that in the next scene. Okay, so here we go. I haven't quite figured out the neat and tidy way of doing this. I think we're gonna lose a lot of liquor this is just water, of course, because of how gravity works. Let me see if I can do this quickly, I guess. Yeah, look at that. So I don't know if you're supposed to load this upside down or something like that, but at this point I have it in there. And then they say that you pull up on this to dispense. And as you can see, basically nothing's coming out. Oh, whoa, let's get a close-up of that. So I can see why. I don't think this has been used in a while, because look at the cloudiness down there. Let me see if I can get that to come out. Yeah, there it goes. Whoa, hello. It was coming out. There. So I'll zoom out a little bit so we can see. And here we go. There we go. And so the idea is you take a cup and you just push it up. That's why these arms are there. And then it will fill the cup. Wow, a pre-measured, okay, so I get it. It's measuring the amount for like a shot glass or something. Well, that's pretty neat. Wow. I could do this all day. All right, so that takes care of that. Let's take it apart. First, we got to get the bottle off of there. And then we will go to these arms at the top. Now, those are spring loaded. Let's see how close I can get to. Maybe I can pull that one in the front out to show you. See there? So just come all the way out. Gas. Whoops. And there we go. And so now if you go down the shaft a little bit, you'll see that there's some screws. So I got to go get a screwdriver. Okay, so these things are in the way. Let's see how they come off. or if they come off. Oh, it's like a wrench down at the, nope, it's a pin. Good. Ta-da! So we'll take all these off so we can get to these screws. Okay, now we got it. Alright, so what did that do for us? We have, these should be, oh, you know what I'm seeing here? So look under there, more screws. So these things have to come off. Let me see what angle I'm at. Alright, what did that do for us? That just basically cleared us the room for the screws under there. Let me lower the camera so we can see. Alright, now we're getting somewhere. You know what? I'm going to back the camera up a little bit so you can see what's happening. The whole thing came off like, see the spring there is now accessible. Get it right about here and you can see what's happening. Huh. Well, as you can see, the bit came out, so pause. Okay, so that happened because the edge was rubbing up against something and it actually untwisted itself. So, back to business. Let's see if I can get it. Okay, so what do we have? We have all this. So now this stuff here is basically worthless. It is all plastic. All this stuff is plastic here. But these shafts are aluminum. Not a lot of aluminum, but definitely aluminum. And as are those overhanging arms, spring-loaded arms. And then you have, let me separate this a little more so you can see the return springs are really pretty long. I'm going to save those. Okay, so those return springs were just hooked on the one side, but they are screwed in there on the other side. So back to the screwdriver. Okay, so here's what we have now. We've got these 6 shafts are aluminum. These overhanging arms are aluminum. These little rubber grips, those are very rubbery as it turns out. So, and so they're just gonna, I think, somehow slip over that. Might really take some tugging, but gonna have to get that off of there if you're gonna turn that aluminum in. And then we've got these return springs, all separate now. Be keeping those, and then we have all these screws. We've got these types, and then what look like wood screws, but they're just that way to tap into the aluminum. Then we got some machine screws, and now at this point you got to count, make sure you have 6 of each. If you don't, you got to start looking around on the ground, especially if you're close to your truck. And so we got a whole bunch of plastic over there that's, I think, worthless, but you know, there is the way it is measuring out specific. I might keep one of these just in case, but otherwise those are going to be good for filling up the garbage can. And now let's look at the shaft. So this thing here spins. I think it's spinning very smooth, so I think that there's some bearings in there. And then a couple of screws right there. Take that off. So let's do that. Plastic. And then we have, wow, this is really solid. Look at that. Let me get that close. That seems to be solid. And it makes sense because the base itself over there is very thick, very heavy. And then the shaft here is also very heavy. I think it might be solid. Wow. And that is because it is holding 6 heavy liquor bottles, and if it gets one-sided at all, the whole thing's going to go over. So they had to make the whole thing heavy. So it looks, at this point, we'll start investigating how this comes off, or maybe I'm just going to leave that on there. Maybe this unscrews. I don't know. I'll play with it and I'll cut. Oh, no, there it goes. See that? So that is going to unscrew. And then we'll see if there's some bearings. Whoa. Okay, so that was fed all the way through. That was, wow, look at that. Okay, so that was a nut that's going all the way through this piece. And then out it comes. Let me put this back on the table. Okay, on one of those scenes you may have heard the bearing hit the ground. There it is right there. Fell out of somewhere. Probably right there. Yeah. So there was a bearing in that was the bottom. And so my guess is that when we pull that bolt out, there's going to be another one under there. Let's see what we got. Nope, it was all riding on one bearing. That's just totally solid right there. Very heavy piece. Big chunk of... Now let's get out the magnet, see what's steel and what's aluminum. Okay, so now I have my magnet. I'll give everybody about 1 second to guess where that came from. Take a good look at it. This is the base of a CB antenna that sticks on the car. So this is where we find out, well, I'm sure that bearing is steel, yep. And of course this bottom plate, definitely. See this thing? Yep, that's a big chunk of steel right there. The pin seems to be plastic on the top. It seems to have a thing on there that I'm going to have to get off. Well, steel, of course, you just turn in as a mix. So I'm going to leave that on there. This big piece, of course. Oh, it's not. Look at this, guys. And it's too shiny. It's this is going to be a hard one. I'm going to have to put a grinder on it to find out if it sparks. It's a little too heavy to be aluminum, so I think that's stainless. Let me get right up close so you guys can see the threads. Doesn't that look like stainless? Well, let me get the grinder and find out. Alright, so here we go. I got the grinder and we've got the mystery object. Actually, it is kind of feeling light. So in case you don't know what I'm doing, what happens when you can't tell if it's aluminum or stainless steel and you don't know which bin to put it in, you've got to run the grinder on it to see if it sparks. Stainless will spark, aluminum will not. So let's see what we got. That is not sparking. Nope. I'm sorry, I was wrong. Look really close. It's also making that steel, the smell of steel. There goes spark. So, this is stainless steel. Big chunk of it too. Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's go over what we got here. We have over here with the plastic, we have $0 worth of plastic. And we have very close to $0 worth of aluminum. We could put it on the scale, but there is not even a pound there. I think that you might have a dime. Now in steel, you have probably regular steel. You probably have 3 pounds, 3 or 4 pounds, and that is like a total of practically nothing. And then you got stainless steel, and I don't know on that because it doesn't come up very often that you come up with stainless steel that's actually non-magnetic like this. So this is a higher quality stainless steel. Usually, especially on appliances and stuff, the stainless steel that you run across is magnetic and the scrapyard's not interested. So you just throw that in with the regular steel shred, but we've got the rare non-magnetic big chunk of stainless. And that, in a nutshell, is it. So I'll work on putting this back together carefully. And no, I'm not. We're totally throwing it out. I appreciate y'all watching. I'm surprised y'all still here. You should go. So in case you were wondering, here are the screw counts. You got the 2 for the base right there, the 6 on the top, the 6 on the bottom, the 6 that we're holding on the springs, and then these curious little things. I'm going to save these because I haven't quite seen that exact type of fastener. Keeping them. Anyway, that's it now. Later.